Hey, yo, what's going on? We got a brand new episode of Buy or Bust today. We're going to be talking about Firehair, the brand new Series 5 card coming out on Tuesday. We're going to talk about some of the key synergies. I'm going to give you guys 3 different decks, as well as the pros and cons for this card. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. So Firehair is the brand new Series 5 card we do have releasing on Tuesday with the abilities. When one of your cards is destroyed, this uses that card's on reveal. And this can happen multiple times in one turn, as you will see on screen right here. The way the cards do get their on reveal played by Firehair is by the order of which they were destroyed. So if the first card in the lane is destroyed, Firehair does that one, then the second card, and then the third card. So it would go in that order. So play rate does matter, or play placement more is probably the better way to describe it, matters. So whichever card is played first, Firehair will use that ability first. This card is going to be absolutely insane, in my opinion. But let's go ahead and jump right into some key synergies and some key counters to this card as well. So looking at the key synergies, of course, you're going to have Misery. Misery is a targeted destroy card as well. It only destroys cards that do have on-reveal abilities, which then goes hand in hand with Firehair, since Firehair only uses cards that have on-reveal abilities. Those are the ones destroyed by Misery, of course, so they can kind of pair together really well. Of course, I'm also thinking with Thanos. Most of Thanos' stones also have on-reveal abilities. Power Stone's the only one that does not have an on-reveal ability. Reality Stone has an on-reveal ability to change the location, but it's not one of the main ones I'm thinking of normally with Thanos here. I'm thinking more of the targeted card draws, potentially with Mind Stone, or just draws overall, whether it is just the Time Stone, which also Time Stone reducing the cost of Thanos is incredible to use that with Firehair as well. And if you do that with Misery, then Thanos costs 3. I think that's kind of crazy. So there's a couple different ways you can do that, as well as just, on reveals in general are just going to be so good with Firehair. And then, of course, I do also think of Darkhawk. Darkhawk does use a lot of on-reveal cards to either enable Darkhawk to be bigger to get some better Cassandra Nova value. Maybe you're using this on a Cassandra Nova to just continually decrease the power of the cards in your opponent's deck. I mean, a rock that is -3, I think, is pretty bad for your opponents to draw. Potentially, also, you're using Hood, you're using Korg. You could even use this for, like, a Grandmaster to be able to enable Grandmaster go off again, or Grandmaster on another location for your Firehair to be able to move a card as well. I think there's a couple just different ways you can mess around with this card that is really cool. Next, let's talk about some of the key counters to this card. First and foremost, we're going to have Red Guardian. Firehair is a 2/3, so if you do not have anything that has less than 3 power in that lane with Firehair, Red Guardian will target Firehair. You also do have Cosmo. If you put Cosmo in front of Firehair, the on-reveal abilities will not go off because on-reveal is countered by Cosmo. And then I'm thinking also Lady Deathstrike. Lady Deathstrike destroys anything that has 3 or less power. You're probably not going to see this as much as the other two, but this is definitely a key card that can counter it, as well as armor into the other lanes to make it so your Misery or any other destroy cards won't go off is another key point there. But let's talk about the good and the bad for this card as well. So when we go with the good at first, we do have any on-reveal card destroyed works with Firehair. So even if a Goblin is destroyed, it does work with Firehair, and Firehair would then just go over to your opponent's side of the board. So just keep that in mind. It works with any on-reveal card. And then also, when you're thinking about this card, it's a great enabler for a new variety of decks is what I'm thinking. Not like a large abundance of decks, but it adds another layer to some of these shells to enable you to get deeper into your combo, which is nice. And then Misery just keeps getting better and better. This is a great Misery card before even more Misery cards come out in April and May. And then there's a lot of Destroy enablers and locations that can help Firehair as well. Next one, we're going on to the bad over here. You do have to have Destroy enablers in order to be able to use Firehair's ability. The cards have to be destroyed to be able to have that on-reveal happen again. If not, Firehair just sits there. It does make some more predictable lines in the sense where you're seeing people play some of these on-reveal cards, especially during this week. I think it's going to be more predictable. Going forward, it'll probably be less predictable. But as soon as you play Firehair, your opponent knows you're going to be destroying stuff, so they can try and find ways to counter that. And it is a low-powered card, like I was saying. She is a 2/3 at base, so she can be targeted by Red Guardian, who still is very popular and will be incredibly more popular, of course, this week as well. With that in mind, though, let's talk about the floor and the ceiling for this card. All right, so at first glance, the best thing that could ever happen for your Firehair, the ceiling for this card, is you can destroy multiple cards while Firehair is on the board, and you'll see, like you had seen in the video, she gets multiple on-reveal procs to happen that single turn. Even if you hit things with a global Killmonger, if there's a bunch of one-cost cards on the board, Firehair will do every single one of those one-cost cards' abilities. Of course, like I said, it is in the order of which they were destroyed, so that is the high. The low is you do not have any destroy cards for Firehair. She just sits on the board and is a 3-powered card for you on the board there. But I think more often than not, you'll probably get 1 to 2 cards destroyed to be able to get the Firehair's ability to go off. So you have that on-reveal go off twice in a game, potentially more. But more often than not, you'll have your on-reveal cards go off another time, so 2 times in a game, and Firehair will at least get 1 card's value as well there. The first deck we actually have on screen here is going to be a Thanos Destroy list. You have, of course, the stones in here that I was talking about as well. Most of them are on-reveal stones besides the Power Stone, and most of them are card-drawing stones besides Reality Stone. So with that in mind, your Killmonger hits every single one of the stones as well, which gives you the Firehair enabling there. Also, they are token cards, so it does decrease the cost of Mockingbird. You do have Bucky in here to be able to produce a token as well. You have X-23 to have extra energy. You have Null. You have Lady Deathstrike. A bunch of different just destroy enablers. And if those destroy cards also themselves do get destroyed, you do get that Firehair value as well. So just keeping that in mind when it comes to this card going forward, as well as, you know, the destroy cards being destroyed, it does also mean those honor reveals will happen with Firehair as well. This was the first list. The second list we have is the Firehawk, which is going to be a Darkhawk Phoenix Force list using Firehair, which is the first Phoenix Force, with Phoenix Force as well, destroying some of these on-reveal cards with Misery to be able to just get the Firehair value, or even if you're just target Cassandra Nova. In this situation, you have Firehair on the board. You play Cassandra Nova on 3. You then Misery your Cassandra Nova to make Cassandra Nova go off again, and then you would Phoenix Force your Cassandra Nova in order to be able to get another Cassandra Nova back. So you'll have, of course, the Firehair Cassandra Nova value. That is 4 different Cassandra Novas going off, because the first Cassandra Nova, then it gets Misery, it's another Cassandra Nova going off, then Firehair goes off, so it would be a 3rd Cassandra Nova, and then a 4th Cassandra Nova would be the Phoenix Force. So the next card your opponent draws would actually be probably nuked. It's kind of a little bit more combo heavy there. That's just one of your like crazy lines. And then, of course, you do have the Darkhawk line itself as well. If you just want to Misery your Rock Slide or even your Korg to make it so then you've put 6 rocks into your opponent's deck. You put 9 rocks inevitably into your opponent's deck with Firehair there, and then you could also do some Phoenix Force shenanigans as well. It really just depends. There's a couple different ways you can play this out. Zabu enables you to be able to do some more of this stuff on final turn, so you can also do your Mystique into a Rock Slide, or like a Mystique into a Phoenix Force, or even a Mystique into a Misery is really solid just to get that extra value across the board as well. And then, of course, we do have Mill. I think a lot of people are probably going to be playing Firehair and Mill. There's a bunch of different ways you can mess around here, whether it is able to banish most of these cards with Yondu. Of course, those destroys don't help with death. You could also just be getting more hood value, same with the last list as well, to potentially have 3 demons in your hand playing, you know, 6-2 or 3 6-powered cards at the very end of the game is still pretty solid, especially if they all cost 1. Could even get some Iron Patriot value. You're probably not playing Misery onto your Gladiator, but you even could with Shang-Chi. You could destroy your Shang-Chi to be able to Shang-Chi at least 2 different lanes, potentially one with your Firehair and another one with the Shang-Chi itself because of Misery. So just keep that in mind as well as another just combo piece. And moving on to the Spotlight Week, we actually have all 3 Series 5 cards in this Spotlight Week, which does include the first time that Cassandra Nova is back in Spotlights. Nico's been in Spotlights quite a bit, but this is a really good combo week, I would say myself. I think it's one of the best, if not the best, Spotlight Week this season. If you don't have Cassandra Nova, it is a great time to pick up Cassandra Nova. Nico, in my opinion, is the best 1-drop in the game, so I think it is totally worth picking up Nico. So when I think of the strength of this week, Cassandra Nova and Nico weigh heavily into this, and I think Firehair's ability is still going to be incredible, so it is probably a 5 out of 5 star, just spotlight week in my opinion. Most of these cards are pretty flexible as well. Firehair, Cassandra Nova maybe are not the most flexible. They're maybe a little bit more specific, but if you are facing a lot of Airshim, you have your immediate counter right there with Cassandra Nova. With Loki being back in popularity, you do have an immediate counter right there with Cassandra Nova as well. Nico is one of the most flexible cards in the game. You can plug and chug her pretty much anywhere, and I think that also brings up the flexibility of this. And then Firehair, I think, also is going to be just really solid, less flexible than the other 2 cards because you have to have more enablers for this card, but I do think these variants are amazing. I love the Firehair. The Cassandra Nova is pretty good. The Nico, I think, is great. So I think overall it is a very solid week to open spotlights. But let's go ahead and look at the ratings for the community for Firehair, my own rating, and then I'll give you guys my final verdict. So this is what I have seen the community when it comes to Firehair. They do think she's going to be a strong card. Not necessarily one of the strongest cards ever, but this ability is going to be very interesting. There is a very high likelihood that this card will be adjusted, especially since the on-reveal abilities can go off multiple times, in the sense it's not limited to 1 card per turn. I could totally see that happening, whether they put a limit there, or if they just reduce her power or increase her cost as well. I wouldn't be surprised, and I agree with the community there. I do think this card is incredibly strong. Yes, you do have to have enablers to make Firehair do all this crazy stuff, but honestly, like, just seeing the misery value you can get with a lot of lists, like, misery makes some of these lists incredible. And now you have Firehair to pair with Misery to really enable it to be able to even go even more over the top, or have these on-reveal abilities proc 3 times a game opposed to just 2 with Misery, I think is incredibly strong. And I think you can really build around this. I feel like you don't even have to just have Misery. Like I said, there's some Killmonger in some of these lists. Even just having some locations to enable the Firehair shenanigans, or a Nico Destroy spell also can work with Firehair. I think this is going to be incredible. I also can see this card being adjusted if it is too far over the top. So I honestly wouldn't be too surprised if that happens as well. But I do have this card as a buy. Please buy this card if you have the resources. But I will say, if this is not something you are really into and not a card you really enjoy, or the style of play is not your favorite, you do not have to spend the resources on this card. When it comes to Marvel Snap, get the cards that you want to play, or see that in the decks that you really think you might enjoy. You don't have to get every card. I totally understand wanting to be collection complete, and I think that is also very valid, but I think at the end of the day, it's spend your resources the way you want to spend them. I think this week overall is an incredible spotlight week. If you're just missing Cassandra Nova, I think you still open for Firehair and Cassandra Nova. If you're missing Nico, 100% you open this week, because I think Nico is a necessity to have overall. So it really just boils down to what you enjoy playing, your level of resources that you have at the moment, but I think you cannot go wrong opening this week. I think this is going to be a very solid and a very good card. But I also would like to say, with the silver lining here, is like, I can be wrong about cards. You know, other people can be wrong about cards. At the end of the day, we don't necessarily know what is going to happen with these cards until we actually see them in game and the current state of the meta. So just keep that in mind prospectively, maybe even waiting till the end of the week or seeing on the weekend missions if you actually would like to get Firehair, if it really does something you really want to play, you know, so just keep that in mind prospectively. But I do also want to say, thank you guys so much for watching the video. I really do appreciate it. If you guys did stick around to the very end, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe if you're new. We're freaking really enjoying playing Marvel Snap, and I really enjoy you guys. All the love and support has been incredible. I really appreciate it. Until the next time, I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I hope you guys, if you are opening for Firehair, I hope you guys one-tap Firehair, or you're able to get all of these new cards without any duplicates. But until the next time, it's been real. God bless, and Tucker out.